Welcome back to American Agenda. Bob Sellers here with Heather Childers. The Washington Post reporting CNN. Actually, we want to go somewhere else right now?
No, I think we're going to go. This will be Mike Carter that's going to report on it.
Okay, we'll keep doing that. Okay, Chris Cuomo from CNN gave advice to his big brother. Gave advice to him. Big brother happens to be New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on how to handle his numerous sex assault allegations and not wind up as another victim of cancel culture. Now, CNN acknowledged that Chris Cuomo participated in the calls and admitted it was a mistake. Newsmax correspondent Mike Carter has the latest details on this. Mike.
That's right, Bob. Yeah, the New York Governor Andrew Cuomo currently being investigated by New York State Attorney General and the New York Assembly. More than up to seven women have now come forward and accused the governor of New York of inappropriate touching and inappropriate comments. Well, Chris Cuomo on CNN has said, "I can't cover my brother because, well, quote, he is my brother." But that comes around the same time that it's now being acknowledged by CNN that Chris Cuomo was involved in a series of conference calls with not only the governor of New York, his brother, but with top aides, lawyers, and outside advisors. Now, here's what we know Chris Cuomo said. According to the Washington Post reporting, a couple of people involved in these phone calls has said that Chris Cuomo encouraged the governor of New York to take a defiant position. Do not resign no matter what you do. Don't acknowledge these allegations of sexual harassment and inappropriate touching. And when they come up, use the phrase, quote, cancel culture, in hopes that all of this would blow over. Well, it hasn't, and now being widely reported first by the Washington Post and here outside Hudson Yards on the western side of Manhattan. We're at CNN headquarters. We talked to some people on the street, and they say this latest allegations against Chris Cuomo, well, that just hurts not only his credibility, but CNN's as well. Take a listen. Has Chris Cuomo been open and honest with the American public?
No. No, he's just like his brother. Lies.
I think it definitely questions his integrity. Can understand that he would do that because it's his brother, logically, but I don't think that it's necessarily right.
I think he should cover everybody equally. You know, I think that's his job.
I was never a fan of either of them, so. I mean, he tries to be a man of the people. He said he's a man of the people. His dad's the governor. His brother's the governor. I don't care about him either way.
It doesn't really change. I never liked him anyway.
You have to give him, it's family business, so it is what it is.
I'm not a big fan of Cuomo's. I just don't think he represents people very well, and he's got a very, very liberal perspective.
Obviously, he's going to want to protect his brother, but it is going to be misleading for everyone if he was actually claiming one thing and doing another.
And Bob and Heather, here's part of the statement that CNN released today to the Washington Post. Chris has not been involved in CNN's extensive coverage of the allegations against Governor Cuomo on air or behind the scenes. The statement went on to read, and quote, in part because he has said on his show he could never be objective, but also because he often serves as a sounding board for his brother. However, it was inappropriate to engage in conversations that included members of the governor's staff, which Chris acknowledges he will not participate in such conversations going forward. Now, one of the advisors in the governor's office has said that Andrew Cuomo trusts 5 people in the world. One of them is his brother, Chris Cuomo. Now, this is a bad PR week for the governor's office, well, for the Cuomo family in general. Earlier this week, we learned that Governor Andrew Cuomo is set to receive upwards of $5 million for a book he penned during the heart of the pandemic. That book on leadership did not really touch on the governor's handling of the nursing home scandal here in New York, another scandal that Chris Cuomo refused to cover on his show on CNN. Bob and Heather?
Yeah, Mike Carter, thank you very much, sir. Indeed. Heather, one of the things, he covered him numerous times on CNN a year ago when everything was going on. They had a shtick going on. They would give it back and forth, and it was real funny. And then all of a sudden these things came out about the nursing home and sexual assault allegations, and suddenly he can't cover his brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would think anybody would obviously think that the two of them would be discussing these issues.
Yeah.
So I blame perhaps the management at CNN by not doing something about it earlier in terms of him covering his brother.
Because you know they're going to have conversations. Let's bring our panel in. Bobby, what are your thoughts when you see something like this? I mean, we're in the media, and we know there are going to be conversations. There's probably going to be some advice, but should that person be on the air?
Well, right. That's the thing, is that there are going to be conversations. These are brothers, but this is a PR disaster, because what they're talking about with these allegations, this is where you go hire someone, you hire a PR firm for damage control or crisis mitigation. But that person
he has the money from the $5 million of the book.
Shouldn't be in CNN, And so that's the big deal. You would hire someone privately in a firm to deal with that, but to have someone on a major network be that person on these conference calls, not sitting around on Thanksgiving saying, hey, Andrew, I think you should do this. These are official calls with people working on the situation. It is a really, really bad deal, and it shows the complete lack of journalistic integrity over at CNN.
Yeah. So, Charles, do you think CNN gets hit more from this, or Chris Cuomo? Who suffers the most from this kind of hit?
I think the governor and Chris Cuomo definitely suffered from what they did. I mean, it's kind of unethical, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, this guy comes on every night, comes into our homes and tries to convince us that he's being fair and truthful, and we know better.
Yeah. Ted, your thoughts here?
Well, none of us should be surprised that the Cuomos are lying to the American people. Shouldn't be surprised that CNN is also. But what we should be concerned with is the fact that CNN allowed Chris Cuomo for literally 9 months to be the PR firm for the Andrew Cuomo for President campaign, using CNN as the platform. CNN completely sold out to the Cuomos for 9 months, hoping that he would be the nominee. And now that is cratering around them, now they're trying to figure out a way to be, go back to the fair and honest news channel that they used to be 20 years ago. I'm sorry, they sold out too long ago for the American people to trust them any longer.
Yeah, Heather, one of the things is Cuomo was being considered as a vice presidential candidate until it had to be a woman and someone of color. And then he was also being considered for attorney general until all the things came out on the nursing home.
Right.
All the while, until it really got rough, you were having brother and brother with interviews on the air. And again, at a time people were dying doing shtick at times. I don't know if you saw any of it, but sometimes they were kind of tasteless or insensitive.
Emerging from the basement. But one of the things that concerns me the most out of all of it is Governor Cuomo's family and employees jumping the line for the vaccine because he's now said, well, that was just standard for governors and their families across the country, and that I do not believe is the case.
Did they tell us about it at the time?
No, they didn't tell us about it at the time. That is yet another scandal that's come out after the fact. And by the way, in the state of New York, they're now offering prizes if you get your vaccine, between $20 up to $5 million to try to get a vaccine until May 28th.
Yeah. Also Shake Shack.
Maybe some of that book money.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Charles Butler, Bobby Eberle, Ted Harvey.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.